Good afternoon traders, Joseph here from Eightcap. Welcome to this week's Trade Zone Asian session wrap. So sorry, I'm just moving the microphone. That made some noise. So it's been a pretty interesting week. There's been a few mixed signals, but some very good key data out this week. So there's been a lot of quite a few solid moves, and we'll run over some of them. The moment we're looking at the AUDUSD, so on Tuesday we had the RBA cash rate decision and statement, and rates were increased to 3.85%, which was a surprise, and it definitely did shock the market. Now we saw a very big rally, but that was faded, but in the last few days we've seen the Aussie really coming home strong with primarily a weaker dollar and off the back of that rate rise. So we've seen a move back up to 67.38, and that's testing that previous level of resistance. Now over onto the yen. The yen has been quite interesting this week. So obviously we saw this really nice push higher after the rates call. Things changed pretty dramatically. We saw a jump back into the Japanese yen, and we saw all the majors have this very strong retreat against the yen, and it's still going today for the USD after you can see the dollar yen there just tested that resistance area perfectly and then retreated off it. So that's definitely a very key level to watch at the moment, and it's at 137.76 up to 37.80 area, and definitely we'll be looking at that one going forward now as key resistance. And this staying with the other side of the Aussie to the US with the US dollar. So we can see here it had a decent little push before things went south, and we've seen a small hold yesterday, and there was a big decline the day before, and it's continuing to pepper this 101 area, and that's a support level. If we see a break there, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We have a bit more support down here as well, and that's at the 170 area. Anywhere below there, and this trend could look to continue in a longer term frame and break lower. But for now, it really does need to break out of that consolidation, which we are watching in this area here. If we do see a move up, it's still going to be range bound, so they'll have to break this area here at 102.03 and really get above 102.38 to sort of start to tell us it's trying to move higher. But at the moment, it continues just to be peppered. The Fed met on Thursday morning, our local time, and they did increase rates as expected. So the rates went up to 5.25%, and the message was, I think, a little bit not confusing, but I think it was a little bit here and there. So there was a few points that could be taken either from a hawkish stance or a dovish stance. So some of the comments were that tackling inflation has further to go. And then the other one which came out, which I think gave a more of a dovish tone, was they need more data to see if rates are restricted enough at the moment. So it definitely was confusing, and they also did discuss a cooling labour market, possibility of avoiding recession. Recession's another factor here with the banking sector, and we're going to get onto that in one moment. So there was a bit of cross traffic coming through, and I think that has caused a little bit of confusion. Maybe it's holding up the USD a bit more, but the Dow and some of the other indexes, they definitely got some momentum as well. We'll check that out in a moment. So we have another final piece coming up tonight, which is the non-farm payrolls, and I think that could add to it, but I think it's also going to be data dependent moving forward. There are some calls that they're sort of asking, is this the last rate hike for a while? I think that will come down to data and just how much more damage we do see from the banking sector at the moment. So if that continues to really go bad, you would think that they may have to pause just to give it a bit of a break. There are a few people linking the rate rises directly to the banking crisis at the moment. So there's a bit of there's a bit of information coming left and right. There's also worries about recession and other issues, and oil's definitely been acting quite oddly. So we'll get onto oil as well in a bit. But so one of the final ones I'll just say, no decision yet on a pause in rate hikes was a comment as well, and more rate hikes are still possible. So really take from that what you will. It's quite confusing in a way, but I think we'll just have to proceed forward and just see how data does come out, and that's starting with tonight with the NFP and how that does come in. We'll get to that one in a tiny bit more detail in a minute, but have a look at a few other markets. Now, we just mentioned the US 30. It's had a pretty average week so far. We can see a lot of strong declines. Futures are building pretty positive at the moment. There's been more issues in the banking sector at the moment, so we'll just touch on that as well. So another bank that lost 50% yesterday was, sorry for a moment. Sorry about that, one moment. Yeah, sorry about that pause. So we saw PacWest that lost, that lost 50% regional. So and other regional bank stocks were under serious pressure. Now, something interesting did come out in the news today, and that was they're looking into possible short selling manipulation. It's no surprise to hear this with some big moves that people are really trying to take advantage of the instability in that sector and are trying to push short selling. So some news out saying that officials are assessing possible manipulation in some of those banking stocks. So that will be something to keep an eye on as well, and it may even suggest that some of that selling is being overdone due to that. So, but all in all, that the crisis is still underway. There's still fundamental issues there, and it's still having an impact, as we can see on the Dow at the moment. And if we just have a look at the SPX as well, we can see to that this week's sell-off as well. So I think with this rally that's forming today, I think a lot will come down to as well with the unemployment and payroll figures that come out from the US tonight, and their bearing on the employment situation that the Fed's watching as well in regards to how they're seeing that fit in with the rate and inflation cycle. So it could be quite important, this one, depending on what data does come out. And just looking at the US 30 here, we can see some decent rejection down towards that 32,958 area. So will we see some sort of counter rally set up today, and could it be spurred on by supporting data from the NFP tonight? That is a possibility, but obviously if that data does come in and does disappoint the market, it could lead to further selling and a test of this week's low. Gold, we have to have a look at some of the metals as well today. So gold had an amazing session yesterday, and we saw a price move all the way up to 2078. It did touch, I think, new all-time highs. Don't quote me on that, but it set new yearly highs this year. It had a very sharp pullback during the session as well, and we saw 1.35% taken off. It would have been extremely difficult to trade. If you did trade it, please let me know in the comments how that experience was, because it looked like a flat out perfect breakout trade, but if you did give it a bit more time, you would have been really caught quite quickly by that pullback. Silver, on the other hand, performed quite differently. We had a really strong bar that held its line, and we did see a new high set for 2023 today, after highs were touched into the session. So the gold, the US 30, and obviously the US dollar index and the other majors that trade against the dollar, they're going to be key ones to watch tonight, depending on how things play out. The euro, we did a report on it yesterday, but we are looking to see if it can finally break above this resistance at 1.1059. We had the ECB yesterday. It wasn't the best news. They did raise rates, but by the reaction of the euro, the statement didn't really give buyers much confidence, and we did see a bit of a move down. It was reflective as well in the DAX, with a move lower coming to a stop, and we've seen further buying as well in the out of hours at this stage on the futures. So they will be definitely keep an eye on those majors to the dollar later, and the dollar index and gold especially as well. Now oil we have to touch on as well. So we've seen oil really just plunge this week, and one of the main points is that there's still a lot of worry about the global economy. The US as well is headed to recession, and then if there's any type of recessions, especially in America with their oil demand, what's that's going to do for the demand of oil. So even ignoring some of the EIA figures this week, oil's just set off a 2-day plunge. It got all the way back down below 68. We have seen some buying yesterday and so far today, and Brent as well got all the way down to test its longer term lower support, which is around the 91 area from memory. So the things continue to be a bit of a surprise on oil, but I think it definitely comes down to demand at the moment, and the outlook on the US economy with what's going on there, and if they are going to enter into a recession and what they will do to demand, with them being the largest energy consumer at the moment. So even with what we saw a couple of weeks ago with that surprise production cut from OPEC, it really looks to this backfired. I don't know if there's been any emergency inventory being added to the market, but something definitely went wrong after that. So we can really just see this move up here. It had all the hallmarks of a breakout, and then things not only turned but absolutely crashed back. So it will be interesting to see if OPEC does get back into the frame with prices back below $70 now. So definitely keep keep an eye on any comments out of OPEC with oil sitting below 70. Now before we touch on cryptos, we'll just have a quick look at the final key news that's coming out to end the week. So we did touch on the ECB overnight. So we have US and Canadian employment coming out at 10:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So that's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, New York time. And we have employment change in Canada. They're looking for 21.6k. Unemployment 5.1, so a slight increase from previous. Now the US data average earnings are expected to come in at 0.3. Non-farm employment come in at 180k, so a bit lower than the 236k we saw last time, and unemployment to increase slightly to 3.6. So I think the real, obviously the big ones will be if that 180 fails to materialize, and if we do see a bigger number come in, higher than the 236, or if we do see a lower number come in below 180, and that reflection of what it's going to do to the dollar and to the to US stocks. So we've had an interesting situation with the dollar. It's been dropping with the banking crisis, and stocks have been dropping as well. So definitely keep an eye on that one. Just that payroll figure as well, it could have a bit of influence on some of the comments from the Fed on Thursday morning. So finally, just to touch off crypto. So crypto's had a pretty good week. We've seen Bitcoin. Monday was a very sorry, I'll rephrase that. We've had a 50-50 week. So Monday we had a stellar drop. No particular reason that I could see. It was just a big, so a very big drop. And this week we've just mainly seen Bitcoin clawing that back. So it has pulled it all back. It's actually traded above it. So it's pretty much flat for the week. That's where it opened on Monday. But things still do look all right. There's obviously plenty of resistance here from 29,447 up to 29,674-ish, to beat. Once those levels are cleared, we'd look for the price to continue, and then we have this key resistance at 30,467 to beat once again. We won't go over all the coins, so we'll just do these a couple of top ones. So Ethereum, similar story. It's back above. It's actually in a profit for the week this far, but it has this resistance at 19.80 to beat, and then try and get that trend back underway to try and get back up to test this high here. So so crypto, definitely an interesting week for crypto. I'm not sure how much influence NFP will have on it, unless there is some really key moves in the dollar that could influence cryptos later today. But as I've noted a few times now, if you are looking at the NFPs tonight, obviously the dollar index, the majors to the US dollar, gold and the US 30, and then the other stock indices, obviously like the S&P and other indices which are going to be influenced by it. That will be some of the key markets to watch tonight with the NFP data coming out. So thank you very much. I want to wrap that up. Again, sorry for the pause around the middle of the video. Wish you guys all a great weekend, and all the best for your trading if you are trading throughout the rest of today. So thanks again. If you do enjoy our content, please feel free to subscribe, and until next week, have a great weekend. Thank you, and bye for now.